month of love with Valentine. I do hope that all of you have been making some plans for your sweet Valentine out there. There are many opportunities around town to buy something or to find a way to show that affection. So there's flowers and there's candy and there's jewelry and all kinds of things. So I hope that you'll give all of that a lot of great thought. But I want to welcome you again. We're going to start our program off as we always do. Ted Woodward with Good Pasture Christian is going to come and give our invocation and also our pledge of allegiance. So if you will all give him your attention, please.
Thanks, Brenda. Do you mind standing for the prayer and we'll be grateful to pledge of allegiance after that? Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful for the blessings of this food today that's been prepared for us. Pray that you will be with it and bless us. We thank you for our community here in Hendersonville. Pray for each person represented, each business represented today, that the business may continue to grow and prosper here. We're also thankful for the chamber, that they can help in that process. Pray that you will be with Brenda and the team that works together to increase business here. Dear Lord, pray that you forgive us of our sins now and be with us always. In Christ's name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ted. And now it's my real pleasure to introduce Michelle Owens, who is the chair of the Hendersonville Chamber, and she comes to us from Capital Bank. So she's come under a new name, but still Michelle. So let's welcome Michelle Owens.
All right. Well, happy February. I would like to first start with the new members here to the Chamber this last month. Acopia Home Loans, Stoney O'Brien, All-American Pest Control Incorporated, Ben King, Bath Fitters, Bobby McLam, Busy Bee Printing, Betty Halloffer, Career Connection Resources, Denise Hayden, Citizens Bank, Linda O'Connell, Classic Doors, Ken Doran, Cornerstone Church, Dana Lawson, Innova Payroll Incorporated, Tabitha Pfeiffer, Cotton States Insurance, Jeremy McDonald, Neighbor MB Urgent Care, Barbara Burns, Porter Haynes, Macy Stark, Sharp Expo, Brian Butler, Shiny Blind, Sal Di Benedetto, Sumner Movers, Bob Chanin, Sunwest Mortgage, Ken Kreider, Timberline Construction, LLC, Cody Roswell. When you're out and about and you see these folks, welcome them to the chamber. Next, I would like to recognize our elected officials. So as I call your name, if you'll stand up and we will recognize you. First, we have Anthony Holt, our county executive. Thank you. We have Scott Foster, the mayor of Hendersonville. We have Pam Whitaker, the Register of Deeds. And also we have the assistant to Diane Black, Teresa Coberline here. Was there anything I missed? Well, oh, I'm sorry, Don Long. There's Don. I'm sorry. Don Long is with our Sumner County School Board. I didn't notice he was late. Oh, I should have known. I'm sorry. All right. With that, I would like to introduce Lynn Silverman, the chair-elect for the chamber, to introduce our speaker. Lynn?
Thank you. I have the distinct pleasure today of introducing Randy Smith to you. Before I do that, I had a chance to talk to Randy a little bit before lunch. Randy is the co-founder of Smith Travel Research, and he had mentioned a lot of people drive by his building and they're concerned that maybe they're out of business because all their parking is in the back of the building, so the front parking lot remains empty. So I'd like to start off by saying, don't worry about them, they're fine. He's actually here to tell us a lot about them. They're one of the jewels of Hendersonville and Sumner County, and I'm very excited for him to come today to share his story and the story of his company. What I'd like to do is read a little introduction about Randy because I don't want to miss anything. Randy Smith is the co-founder of SDR, and he co-founded the business in 1985. He's widely quoted in the industry as the authority on hotel performance and is a frequent keynote speaker at industry conferences and seminars. Mr. Smith received the 2011 Lodging Hospitality Magazine's Stephen W. Greener Silver Plate Award. He is the 2010 recipient of the ALIS Lifetime Achievement Award for his contribution to the lodging industry. And he was the 2007 inductee to the Florida State University College of Business Hall of Fame. I'm a Gator, but I'm still impressed. He's a member and past co-chairman of the Industry Real Estate Financing Advisory Council and the 2002 recipient of the prestigious IREFACC Everett Johnson Award. He has a lot of awards. I'm very impressed. I know you will be too. I don't want to eat into any more of his time, so without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Randy Smith.
Thank you, Lynn. That was nice. Yeah, I have been asked that in the past about our parking lot. We did put the parking out back. So those of you that drive by our building, a lot of you drive by it. I don't even know if you noticed it right past the Rite Aid when you're heading out Gallatin Road. It's the SDR. I know some of you are somewhat familiar with what we do. I was going to kind of explain a little bit about what we do and how we do it. But in a kind of simplified form, we collect and process and distribute data on the hotel industry. Now that seems, and it is actually fairly straightforward, but we do it on a global basis, and we're essentially the only company that does it that way. We collect data monthly, weekly, annually, daily, you name it. We collect data on the industry. We process this stuff and distribute it back out to just about anybody with any interest in the lodging industry. Now, for the longest, we were strictly domestic here in the U.S. We tracked the U.S. hotel industry, Canada, Mexico. Several years ago, we decided that we needed to go global in order to go along with the brands themselves. They were going global. So we launched SDR Global, did that about 3 or 4 years ago. That's based in London. And so today, between the London office and here in Hendersonville, we collect and process data on over 40,000 hotels around the world. That data, all of it flows into our office here in Hendersonville. We distribute that stuff. It's actually a fairly massive process. We generate 60,000 emails each and every week that are unique. And most of those will have anywhere from 10 to 20 pages of attachments. So we move a whole lot of data. This stuff comes in. Now, let me explain a little bit of what kind of data we collect. Most of the big bulk of it is just 3 pieces of information. Those of you who are somewhat familiar with the hotel industry, you've got 3 numbers that are kind of involved. If you take a month, you want to know how many rooms that hotel had available that month. So it's number of rooms in a hotel times 30. You got over 100-room hotel, you got 3,000 rooms available. So that 3,000 rooms available is the number we use to track industry supply. So we track supply changes in the hotel industry. How many rooms are being built, how many rooms are coming out of the industry, so we track that. The next number we collect is the number of room nights sold. So that number, we collect this from all these hotels. That enables us to track overall lodging industry demand. How many rooms are sold throughout the industry. The third number we collect is room revenues. Now with the room revenues number, we can track obviously revenues for the total U.S., Nashville, estimate for Sumner County. But we can develop revenue estimates for the entire industry, and with that number, using that demand number, we can actually compute room rates. So we know what rooms are being sold for out there. And we've been tracking that. So essentially, and then let me back up a little bit, we take that demand number, room nights sold, divide that with those rooms, well, we'll get an occupancy percent. So we basically track occupancies and room rates for the hotel industry. Now, we also do a lot of P&L data, profit and loss data. We collect that from 6,000 or 7,000 hotels a year. So we know a lot about the hotel industry. Now, we write a lot of articles. We have a website, Hotel News Now. We track the industry's performance. We do a lot of speeches. There's probably at least a half a dozen of us on the staff that are on the road, I guess just about every day. One of us is on the road doing a presentation somewhere around the world. And we do these presentations from Berlin to Hong Kong, Des Moines, Iowa, you name it. We're doing presentations on the state of the hotel industry. Now, it has been a fascinating process to be in the position that we are. We're a relatively small company. Altogether, around the world, we've got about 160 employees. About 95 of those are here in Hendersonville. The next biggest office is in London. We have an office in Cleveland and one in Boulder. And then we've got people literally strolled all around the world, from Beijing, Singapore, Dubai, you name it. We've got people out there. We're collecting data on the hotel industry. We run into all kinds of issues, currency, timing. You know, what is today in Hong Kong is a different number than what you think it is today. So we run into all kinds of issues like that. Through the London office, we have a lot of different languages. They're really multilingual out of that office. We're still here pretty much domestic U.S., but we've added some different bilingual people here also. The staff at STR, most of it is local. We do have a lot of programmers that come in from out of town in order to, that we've hired from different places. But we try and do our best we can in terms of hiring locally. But it has been a really interesting run for the business. We launched a new program last year to track the way in which people make hotel reservations. Now, a lot of you are familiar with the OTAs, the online travel agents, Expedia, Travelocity, Priceline. Well, they're having a huge impact on the hotel industry today. You know, who owns the customer is a big issue within the industry. You know, sure you're staying in a hotel, but the way in which you get to that hotel today is changing very dramatically. The hotel industry has always been very traditional. You know, very old industry, been around a long time. And a lot really doesn't change. I mean, we're still basically, you know, heads and beds, feet and sheets, whatever. So, you know, a lot of, it is an old industry, and it hasn't really changed much. I've personally been involved in this industry, oh geez, since about 1972. Gosh, that's way too many years for anybody to be involved in any one industry, but I've been involved in it for about 4 years. And I have never seen the level of change hitting our industry today as it's, you know, we're going through today. The way in which customers show up at the hotels and the way in which you make that reservation is causing a lot of disruptions. The brands are having difficulties negotiating deals with Expedia. And to make a long story short, we waded into this mess about a year ago, just wrapped up a study on distribution channels, and we're now going to start tracking that information on an ongoing basis. So what we have done historically, I mentioned 3 pieces of information, we're now about to explode that to about 100 pieces of information. And we've got most of the major brands participating. When we got together most of the brands to help us with this thing, we ended up getting data from about 25,000 hotels. We do, like I said, we work a lot with all the major brands themselves, Hilton, Marriott, Intercontinental. All of them are clients of ours. And this program that we launched back last year has been amazingly successful for us. So 2011, you know, we all are familiar with the difficulties we're going through, the downturn that hit. And let me mention something about the downturn that hit back in 2008. Some of you that are familiar with us around town, we had plans to build a nice new building, kind of back behind where my building is now. I actually spent just short of $600,000 on those plans to build this building. It was going to be about a $10 million building. Beautiful building. September 15th of 2008, Lehman Brothers collapsed. We were scheduled to start construction October 1st. 2 weeks later, I called the builder up September 29th, 2 days before we're supposed to break ground. I said, let's call timeout. So I shut it down at that point, fully thinking that within 6 months to a year, surely we'll get this building going again. Well, that's been about 3 years ago, and now we're leasing space right down the road. And so it's been a difficult time period for everybody. Our company did quite well throughout the entire downturn, in spite of the fact how much the hotel industry really suffered. The hotel industry suffered in both counts. Occupancies really fell, but room rates fell even more, which was a real surprise. Room rates typically do not fall that much in the hotel industry. But this downturn was somewhat unique in that as the hotel industry went into this downturn, room supply, the number of rooms out there, was actually increasing. Now, we had never been confronted with that as an industry before. Normally, as we go into a downturn, the number of new rooms coming into the market is actually on a slight downward trend. But back in 2008, when this downturn hit, we were in the lodging industry in the midst of a huge building binge. We were adding a lot of rooms. So right when we're adding a lot of rooms into the industry is when the demand collapsed with this downturn. Now, we didn't know how the industry was going to survive on this whole thing. We were looking at it and we're like, man, this doesn't look good. So that's why we decided, let's just call time out on our new building. Now, as we go through the downturn, our business is very somewhat counter-cyclical. We have annual contracts with all the major brands. They have to know what their market share is, whether it's good times, bad times, whatever. So our business never really suffered in the downturn except for one aspect of it. We generate a lot of reports that are related to construction activity. If you want to build a new hotel anywhere in the U.S., actually it's getting used anywhere in the world, at some point in that process, you have to come to us and ask for data. Now that's a very lucrative part of our business. Well, when the downturn hit, nobody wanted to build any more new hotels. So that aspect of our business really kind of nosedived. So while it didn't affect our top line much, our revenues were still pretty much there. The bottom line did suffer. Our profits, no, they kind of stabilized for a couple of years. So we usually use downturns as a time to really start reinvesting back into the business, trying to do what we can so that as the industry comes back out of this thing, we're in a good position to capitalize on it. Well, 2011 was a great year for the lodging industry. They had demand increases 5%, well above overall economic growth. Room rates finally started to rebound. They were up about 3.5% for the year for the total U.S. So with occupancies increasing and room rates increasing, it ended up being a record year for us. 2011 was just an absolutely outstanding year for us. Our revenues grew by about 15%. I think our profits were up about 25%. So we continue to grow, and we're starting off this year gangbusters too. Just to kind of give you an idea of relative size. Overall, between Hendersonville and London, we probably get a little less than $30 million in revenues. So it's just a small little research company that has a nice position in terms of the overall industry. And it is a nice business to be in because it's, today is an information world. We live and so much is derived from information. And we're in the information providing business. And so it's a great spot to be in. Now, it keeps us on our toes. We constantly have people looking over our shoulder. Gee whiz, that looks like a really nice bit of business. I'd like to wade into that. So we constantly have to fight off major accounting firms and Wall Street equity
big firms that are always trying to come in and figure out some way to do what we do better or different or whatever. And so we do have a somewhat of a very high profile in capital circles, particularly in New York. We feed security analyst data in New York. We deal a lot with people that are financing hotels, lenders. So we run into a lot of private equity companies, things like that. So I'm frequently getting inquiries about, shouldn't I sell my business? Somebody's here to buy my business. At times when the market's doing really well, I get these phone calls once a week. It's very flattering, I guess, but how many different ways can you say no? We're not really interested in selling the business. But it brings up an interesting topic that I just kind of want to mention briefly. And that's the way in which, how do I say this politely? The way our tax laws are structured in our country today is really not good. There's so many parts of it. Now, right off the bat, let me tell you this, I am a part of the 1%. I make a whole lot of money. Now, the question is what do I do with that money? The question is what do I do with that money? Well, of course, the government wants me to take it all and hand it over to them. I'm trying to build buildings, build a company, and keep growing staff. But it goes back to people wanting to buy my company. Now, you kind of think through the numbers for a little bit. I can continue working at STR, plowing my money back into that business, and all the money that I make, all my earnings, are taxed at ordinary income. At my level right now, I'm hitting around 38, just shy of 40%. So I'm paying right at 40% of my income in taxes. And that number is a couple of millions. Let me just say it's up in the millions. So I pay a lot. Now, people say I'm not paying my fair share. I'm not really sure how you get there. When I'm paying several millions of dollars a year in taxes, I think I'm paying more than my fair share. But what irritates me the most is that my income is ordinary income. I sell my business. That then comes to me as capital gain. It's only taxed at 15%. I turn around and invest that money. Don't really need that much laying around. I invest that, and the income off of that is also capital gains. Dividend income is capital gains. So every way in which our tax laws are structured, it is encouraging me to sell my business. And they come to me with all these scenarios. You do this, we can cut your tax bill, we can do this, all these benefits. And it does leave you scratching your head thinking, wait just a minute, is this really good? The way we have structured this, and I don't even want to get into the estate tax. That thing has to be the worst tax ever created. And the death tax, however you want to call that thing, I call it a nightmare. How on earth am I ever going to keep my company intact when, I have a son, most of this stuff will go to him. He's related to me, so I have to give it to him. So all this stuff is going to go to him. Now, where on earth is he going to come up with 60% of the value of my company and still keep that company? It's going to be incredibly difficult. And we're talking a fairly large number, and 60% of that is a staggering number. We don't have those kind of millions just laying around. So, at some point out there, my son is going to almost be forced to sell the company in order to just pay off the tax bill, so he'll lose control of it. And so there's issues out there, and like I said, I don't want to get too much off onto this, because my staff knows I have very pointed political views. Most of them agree with me. But it is something, I wanted to take a minute to tell you a little bit about our business, what we do, and to tell you, when you get a chance, to speak to your congressperson about this stupid tax law that we have in this country. It really doesn't make sense to me. And, a lot of people talk about, we met last week, in fact, with some people from the Federal Reserve Bank. This woman from the Federal Reserve, there's 3 of them out of our office, and it's fascinating discussions. I love sitting down and talking to those people. They ask you really interesting questions, talk a lot about the industry and what the buildings up there and everything else. And so she asked me point blank, what's it going to take for you to build your new building? Obviously, that's what people want. It's companies, and a lot of you represent small companies around Hendersonville. We do. You know, and what this economy needs is people that run small businesses to step up, start expanding, start doing things. And so they want to know what's going to take for me to build my new building. And I started to say, and you hear this a lot if you watch the news, it's about the uncertainty of the future. It's not about the uncertainty. The problem is, for me, it's the certainty of it. I know my tax bill is going up. I don't know how much, but I know my tax bill is going up, and I know my expenses are going up. Those are givens. Those things are done. They're baked in. We have to plan for this. I don't really know the actual numbers, but the fact that I know my tax bill is going up, which is basically an expense, and all my other expenses are going up, scares me half to death. So we're a very profitable business, and instead of going ahead and building that $10 million building, we're going to lease some office space. And it's that kind of decision that's being made all across this country that is overall long-term not very good. We need to have a lot more of an idea of where everything's going over the next couple of years. And today's Congress is totally adept to doing that. So anyway, like I said, I didn't want to get off too much on politics. My staff's over there cringing. But anyway, I can ramble on a lot. Let me just kind of see if anybody's got any questions or comments. Yes, ma'am.
Two questions, Randy. First of all, you got one of the most unique and beautiful facilities in this part of the country.
Thank you.
Contrast your current facilities with the facility you started in when you birthed this business.
We literally started this business in the basement of our house in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And there's an interesting story of how we got from Lancaster down to Tennessee. To make a long story short, when we were in Lancaster, we had just gotten the business going. We'd been in business for about 18 months. And we had a mortgage that was coming due. Started going around the banks. And at this point, the business was actually profitable. We were actually making money. Actually making pretty good money. We go to the banks wouldn't touch us. You work for yourself. Now this was, 25 years ago. So my wife's family is from Tennessee, so she flew to Nashville and walked into a bank and said, here's what we're doing, here's our revenues, our expenses, our profit, would you give us a loan? They were absolutely. But what I didn't realize was so many banks around Middle Tennessee are accustomed, because of the music industry, of dealing with pretty much self-employed people. So the banks in Nashville never even hesitated to give us a mortgage. So the banks in Pennsylvania, today they've kind of come around. But the banks there would not touch us. Banks here in Hendersonville would give us a loan. We got a loan, moved over into Hendersonville, now wind up in Hendersonville. One reason, the lake, Old Hickory Lake. For those of you who know me, I am an avid bass fisherman. I love bass fishing. That's what brought me to Tennessee, was all the lakes. I literally looked for a city that had an airport that was close to a lake. And that was my two criteria, was a lake and an airport. And over time, we have absolutely loved being here in Nashville. We lived actually in Nashville. My son, when he graduated, I went to middle school, then he wanted to go to Montgomery Academy. So we moved into Nashville. We've been there ever since, but still make that commute out here every day. Love Sumner County. Love it. It's a great place to raise kids. We thoroughly enjoyed it here. And so, yeah, it's interesting how we actually ended up here in Hendersonville. But it's worked out great for us.
How many languages are represented by your...
Oh, geez, I wouldn't even know. Here in Hendersonville, we have two or three Russians, a Belgian, German, Spanish. But you go to London office.
There's probably 45 languages. Well, there's 30 people that each speak at least 2 languages.
Yeah. So if you're trying to talk to hotels around the world, you got to have multilingual people at this point. And yes, back there.
With the increase of all the online reservations over the last 10 years, what's happened to the revenue?
Well, interestingly, the online reservations for hotels today accounts for less than 10%. maybe 8% of all the rooms reserved. But as somebody said, I think it was Jan, one of our own guys said, it's 8% of the rooms reserved, but it's 80% of the industry's conversation. That's all we're really talking about. Because what we have found, and this has been an unfortunate aspect of the OTAs, the online travel agents, is that while that's 8% of the demand, they're affecting almost 100% of the pricing. Pricing for this industry now, what other industry do you go to buy their product and we have trained the customer to negotiate the price? I mean, car business has always been that way, but you don't go to a restaurant, order a steak, and say, hey, how about if I give you 14 bucks for it today instead of 20? The hotel industry has now trained consumers to shop for the lowest price, try to negotiate the lowest price. It has been a nightmare for the industry itself. Probably, certain aspects great for the traveling public, but it's not been good for the hotel industry, yes.
In Middle Tennessee, have you seen an impact with some of the new construction going around for Music City Center with the hotels that are being proposed around there?
We're really anxious to see how the new convention center goes. We're building an 800-room Omni downtown to go along with that convention center. There's been a few other hotels that have been proposed. Now, a couple of things, I actually brought some national numbers, but just kind of give you an idea. Nashville had one of the sharpest increases in occupancies and overall room demand during 2011 over 2010 of any major market. Now, can anybody tell me, that's kind of a quirk with the numbers, but can anybody tell me why we had such a huge percentage increase over 2010?
The flood.
The flood. The flood hit in May of 2010. Pretty much wiped out tourism for that summer. So 2011 comes along, they managed to get the Opryland Hotel reopened. I think Colin Reed deserves some kind of a medal for what he achieved at that hotel. To think that that hotel was 10 feet, the lobby was 10 feet underwater, and he has this thing open by November. I mean, that was a stunning achievement. It is still hard to believe that he managed to pull that off. But, the flood really hurt the national market. So we come back in 2011 and had very strong demand. And it was the second highest of the top 25 markets in the country. Nashville had the second highest percentage increase of all of them. So Nashville did really well. So now, I don't know if any of you have been downtown, seen that new convention center. It's truly an impressive facility. It is going to be interesting to see how well the city competes. At that size convention center, the issue is fairly straightforward. That puts Nashville in competition with some major markets out there, Orlando, Las Vegas, Chicago. Well, I love Nashville, don't get me wrong. I think the world of this thing. But every one of those other cities that we are now going to be competing against have a whole lot more to offer than we do. We need a new theme park. We need some kind of something. You go home and tell the kids you're going to take them to Nashville. I mean, what are they going to do? Go to the Country Music Hall of Fame? I mean, the country music fans may love that, 9-year-old kids. They're not into that. And so it's an issue now with the new announcement of the water and snow theme park. Snow, hey, apparently they do it at Stone Mountain, Georgia. The same people that are going to be doing that or doing that one are going to be doing this one. I do think the scale is fairly small, so the impact of the new theme park, I think, will be somewhat limited. But at least they're coming in with something, and I think that'll be great for the city. Back to the convention center itself, the problem is with an 800-room hotel coming in, and you've already got the Renaissance sitting there next door to the old one, there's no question that there's too much supply coming into the market. Now, when that convention center is packed, and they've got everybody in there, that hotel is going to be packed also. There's going to be a lot of people around downtown Nashville. When that thing is empty, when the convention center is empty, who's going to be staying at that hotel? You can only fit so many people into a convention center. It takes a lot to move these big shows in and move them back out. So at most, you're going to have, in terms of exhibit days, somewhere around 230, 250 exhibit days a year at most, because you've got all this other downtime. Well, that downtime, that hotel is going to be tough. And it's being built, it's been heavily subsidized. with tax dollars and everything else. You know, how does the Gaylord people feel about that? Here, they're the primary contributor to the state, to the city's sales tax receipts that come in from room revenues, and they're essentially funding their competition. So it's going to be interesting to see the impact of the convention center. Very impressive facility. I can't wait till they get it open. Can't wait to go to the next boat show down there. But it'll be interesting to see how the city gets through that with the influx of supply that's going to come along with that. Yes?
I heard the CEO of Hewlett-Packard about a month or two ago saying that she could predict recession based on ink cartridge sales. With the data that you have, you think you're becoming pretty dangerous?
We have looked at that for years, trying to figure out if we can get some kind of an indication, because people traveling is a great indicator of people's moods, of businesses' mood, particularly business travel, but transient travel, just leisure travel, people out there. I mean, it is a very good indicator. Now, as a typical rule, the lodging industry lags overall economic performance by 3 to 6 months. And it had always been that case, except for this current downturn. The current downturn, we actually, the hotel industry, while overall recession kind of hit everybody late 2008, the hotel industry actually started going down early in 2008. So we were actually going down while everything else still looked fairly well. So we actually were one of the leaders into it. We'd known at that time that we were leading this economy down, and we could have maybe made some a little bit more accurate predictions. But this time around, you know, and then now as we've starting to come out of this downturn, the hotel industry had a great 2011. Whereas really the overall economy really has not improved that much. And so we've rebounded. So I think this current downturn has been somewhat unique in that we kind of led going down and led coming out. Part of the reason why we led going down, the AIG effect, what we refer to in the industry, was a big conference out in Phoenix that AIG had, blew a whole bunch of taxpayers' dollars, and that became known as the AIG effect. And it wasn't helped then when our president came out and discouraged people from traveling, discouraged people from going to Las Vegas. That, between the two things, and it happened within a matter of months, that was devastating to the hotel industry. The luxury segment of the industry collapsed almost immediately between the AIG effect and then him telling everybody not to travel. But, you know, 2 weeks ago, our president was down in Orlando announcing a new travel initiative. He's trying to come on board, that tourism is actually a good thing. And so we'll see how much they follow through with it. But it was an interesting time frame in which, back to your question.
Get back to politics.
So, yeah. But in terms of the, you know, we cannot predict downturns based on our data. Is the answer to your question. I'd like to be able to do that, but now we're still looking at everything else. Because we're really baffled. Where's 2012 going to go? Now, the hotel industry is in good shape. Like I said, supplies come down. We're going to have very few rooms nationally. Here in Nashville, that's something else. But nationally, we're going to be adding very few rooms. If we could just have some modest increase in overall demand, the industry should be in pretty good shape throughout 2012. So for us, STR, we fully expect 2012 to be another record year for us. So, any more questions or anything? Well, folks, I enjoyed it. Hope you kind of learned a little bit about STR and what we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was very informative. I could listen to him talk all day long. I think it's just so interesting. I took a statistics class in college, and it just wasn't that interesting. All right. Next, we have our table display. First we have Comcast Business Services, John Miser. If you just want to come up and you have a minute to tell us a little bit about your business.
I did not know I was going to qualify. name is John Miser with Comcast Business Service. And Comcast has started a new partnership with the Hendersonville Chamber. We're offering some special discounts for Hendersonville Chamber members. And also anybody who does switch over to Comcast, and make sure if you call us, tell us you are a Chamber member, and we will send a portion of your bill each month to the Chamber. So it's a great opportunity to get high-speed internet, also Comcast voice service, and our cable TV. Call me personally. Don't call the 800 number. Call me or one of the other reps here in the territory. My cards are over there, and just make sure you let me know you're with the Chamber. I'll give you a great deal, and we'll help support the Chamber. Thanks.
And next we have with us David Burns and Brianna Bird from Sam's Club. Well, it looks like we have a drawing.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Hendersonville Chamber. I am David Burns, and this is Brianna Bird, and we are from the brigade soon-to-be Hendersonville Sam's Club. I've got to talk to a lot of you. We are extremely excited to be coming to be a part of your community, and we'll be looking for our grand opening. Hopefully, it's going to be March the 21st. So it's going to be a big event, so you have to come and celebrate with us. So, we do have a drawing today. We are giving away this fantastic 3-gallon beverage dispenser, stainless steel. It's very nice. So we'll go ahead and do it.
Darren Woodcock.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, upcoming connection opportunities. The Leads Exchange meet at the Chamber office every Tuesday morning at 8 and every Wednesday at noon. The business after hours in February will be our building. Goodness, this is easy to read format here. The business after hours for February will be our business showcase on the 16th. A joint business after hours will be February 28th at the Club of Fairview, and that will be with the Club of Fairview and Volunteer State Bank from 5 to 7. The March Luncheon is March the 7th, and our guest speaker is author Louis Upkins here at the Blue Rouse Yacht and Country Club. The United Chambers Luncheon will be held April the 10th, so save that date. Brenda has some upcoming advocate opportunities for us. And the ball.
Oh, I'm just bringing it. Thank you very much, Michelle. And before I tell you about a couple of those things, I want to compliment and thank again Randy Smith for coming and being a part of this. Randy has been a great, great friend to Hendersonville and Sumner County in so many different ways. And I know that, and I won't share all of that, but I'm proud to call him my friend, and I'm so glad that he and Carolyn are here and doing so much for all of us. Well, Advocate has a couple of events coming up that I want you to be aware of. On February the 21st, we're having our annual Day on the Hill. It is going to be in conjunction with a legislative reception. We're going to go down from 1 to 4:30 in the afternoon. We already have a really nice program that has been set up by Representative Maggart's office. The Government Relations Committee are going to go down, but I would encourage anybody who is interested in participating in that and getting down to the legislature and seeing what goes on to give us a call, and we'll get you set up. You know, we can carpool, we can do whatever. So that'll be a fun afternoon. Well, maybe not fun, but it'll be informative. I'm sure it'll be fun. The other event that I want to tell you about that will be a lot of fun, Teresa Coberline was nice enough to call us several days ago and ask if we could arrange through the Hendersonville Chamber an opportunity for Congressman Black to come and give us a legislative update from DC, which is the Big Hill. And so she's going to be coming on the 23rd at 8 o'clock in the morning from 8 to 9. It'll be right here in this building. We're actually going to do it back in the glass room, though it's not going to be here in this room. So if you are wanting to come to that, please go ahead and go online and reserve or call us and reserve. We just need to have some idea of how many folks, because if we happen to get too many for that room, we'll need to find an overflow opportunity for that event. But that's February 23rd from 8 to 9 a.m. That's it for Advocate. Who's coming next?
Okay. Next, we have upcoming promotion opportunities, and we have Tom Gillingham who's going to talk to us a little bit about the Business Showcase.
Well, if your business isn't bringing in enough money to where you have to pay that much in taxes, we have the opportunity to help you build to that point. Business Showcase is coming up a week from Thursday, right here in this room. It's only $100 to exhibit. What better opportunity is that than to get in front of all the businesses that really make a difference in this city and present your case. So come here. Our presenting sponsor is Hendersonville Hyundai, and they asked me to mention that. And but it's a very good event. We have the sign-up forms over here, or see Cassie. Thanks.
Run out on me today. And we have Cassie who's going to we have Cassie with an announcement of the Mid-Tennessee Home Show.
Yes. I don't know how many of you got to meet Andy. He was working the booth for the home show today. Tom and a few others were working the Business Showcase. But he didn't know the update of how many booths we have. He thought we had 70. We have 107 booths signed up right now for the Mid-Tennessee Home Show. Staff has been working nonstop. It was them, not me. I took a break last week. Thanks to all of you who came back. We had 30 extra booths, so we're hoping all of you in this room will come join us and be a part, because Brenda and I's goal is 150. So we're very close to reaching it. I know we will. So if you're interested, please let us know. When is it? March 10th and 11th. Where is it? At the new Expo Center.
Next, we have Wendy and the 22nd Annual Golf Classic.
Do we have any golfers in the house? Show of hands. Do we have anybody that would like to do business with those golfers that are in the house? I think that covers pretty much everybody. And I'm so happy it is the 22nd annual. I can't believe, I feel like I've been doing all of them, but not quite. But on April 23rd, we'll be right here at Bluegrass for that tournament. We are so excited. We already have a presenting sponsor. Commercial Credit Reports has signed on as our presenting. Sumner Roofing and Hendersonville Hyundai have signed up for gold, and Goddard School is a silver sponsor. So we have limited sponsor opportunities left, and we already sold the 19th hole. Beacon Wealth Advisors is going to come on board to host our awards for the afterwards. So we are more than half sold on players, holes, and carts, which is incredible for us to be this close to the tournament. So if you want to participate, see me before you leave. Give me a card, and I'll make sure you get some information. And we'll have some emails going out soon with all the details of that. So mark your calendar for April 23rd.
As you can tell, events are our life. So there's something going on all the time. All right, so we've got a few door prizes to give away. We've got a jetpack from Jet's Pizza, and the winner is Brian Ellis from Surf Pro. If Brian is in the house, we'll get him this before you leave. And then we also have a chamber promotion, which is 1 month, is that right, at level 4 for our enhanced directory listing. And the winner of that, this is not fair. This is Eric, you can't do it. Dr. Eric Stamper has won the 1 month enhanced directory listing. And then we have a $25 gift certificate, as we have for many, many years, thanks to Advance and Signature Cleaners. And that's going to Krista Simpson with H3O. So with that, I think we are done with our business today. Thank you all again for being here. Have a great afternoon. We look forward to